Hey guys, what's up? It's Mike from JMG Designs. Promised you guys a Poison Spyder crusher flare installation video. This is the beginning of that video. I will attach a couple pictures of all the brackets and parts and pieces that are included with this and give you a quick walkthrough of the directions. So, alright guys, first I'm going to explain to you what brackets to use on the front. We've got two really long brackets here that attach the crusher flare to the subframe of the body, and that's what makes these flares so strong. For the front flares, we're going to use this long bracket. You'll see this cutout here for the support bracket from the factory flare. This is going to fit up behind the factory sheet metal and bolt to that subframe. That's going to be your main source of strength for this. And then we also have a smaller bracket that helps bolt a pinch seam to the sheet metal, giving you more structure at that point as well. These are directional. What I found is that the side with the flat spots actually goes on the outside against the sheet metal and gives you a nice curvature and then fits really snug up into that body. We're going to start with the upper bracket. In your hardware pack, it comes with these speed nuts, speed clips, several different names for them. You slip those on. We're going to have to jimmy them around, but for how they go, you want the bolt end with the threads to go towards the inside of the Jeep, inside the body. We're going to take this piece, using this cutout for the support bracket, and you're going to put this tight up into the body and pound it up. Okay, then there's three 10mm bolts that go up from the bottom into that subframe. Okay, so with this bracket roughly in place, leave those three nuts a little bit loose. This is of course our final installation. Being your first installation, you're going to have a lot of holes up here that you're going to need to mark. There's only going to be 3 holes that you're going to be able to put in. So to get this bracket started, leave it a little bit loose, and then we'll throw the flare up here and align these holes and get a few started. And we'll mark the rest of those holes, drill them for you guys, and get ready for the final install. After they're painted, powder coated, plasti dipped, whatever you guys want to do. That's where the support bracket comes in. Pretty handy, especially if you've got seal. What we found quite useful was stealing some hardware from the rear flares. What I would personally recommend doing is picking up some of these 5/16-18, I believe, this hardware. Get some that's about a 1/4 inch to maybe a 1/2 inch longer. That will at least get you some hardware that you can set up that will actually fit. We ran into some issues putting this on to where the hardware that came with the flares was just so short that you couldn't even get these things started, let alone with the gasket on. So a little bit longer hardware for those 5 bolts will take you quite a ways. We had to route them from the rear, but we'll get those taken care of too. Okay guys, with at least 3 of those bolts set up, again, for your initial install, you guys are going to be marking those holes that need to be drilled in the sheet metal. We've got 2 holes up here in the corner, and then at least another 3 or 4 holes here on the back side. Make sure that you put everything on as tight as you can. There's a few bolts that can go through the sheet metal here to sandwich that together. Make sure that you do that so you get accurate holes so that you can drill them only one time and get them right the first time. Since we are on our final installation, we're going to leave this bracket loose. We're going to leave the fender a little bit loose. There is some adjustability front and back, so don't get too crazy if one hole doesn't line up. Try to jimmy it, move it a little bit back and forth. It'll fit. We're going to use the second bracket for the front fender flare installation. Again, there are flat spots on one side. I found that those fit a lot better towards the outside of the Jeep. And then we're just going to reach in, pull that sheet metal out just a little bit, and that'll help you get this bracket nicely in place. And then, with some pieces of hardware, you can fit it in so that it will hold its place and it won't fall out and hit you in the foot. Ask me how I know. So let's get this bracket at least set into place. You can put the 2 bolts in. Again, pull the sheet metal out. There we go. And then once that all tightens up together, you could use a little bit longer hardware there too. You're going to be marking holes on the back side of this too. There's 3 layers of sheet metal that are spot welded together here. It's another structural point. When you drill these 2 holes in your sheet metal, you're going to go ahead and go through those as well, through the wheel well, excuse me, and then drill those as well. That bracket that we're using, again, attaches your fender flare all the way into the substructure, this body, so that's where you're going to get all your strength from. So let's bolt this on, and we'll catch up shortly. Since we were talking about new hardware, with the 3 layers of sheet metal that are pinch welded together here, and with the tight clearances of these flares, again, we got some new hardware. Luckily, I bought this stuff before we got into the installation, but we got some hex cap screws, again, 5/16, 18 by 3/4 inch, and those fit through that bracket, through the pinch seam, and give us a lot more meat behind that we can actually grab a hold of. Now, with that bracket installed, check your other holes, make sure those are lined up appropriately. The gasket will make it a lot tighter as far as getting hardware through. But once you have all those holes lined up, the main 2 brackets that you need are these 2. Once you have those and the rest of your holes lined up, we can go ahead and start putting in the extra hardware and then through bolting it through the sheet metal. So we can go ahead and put in the rest of our hardware and then give us a few minutes and we'll check back with a finished product after everything's tightened up. Finished product, and then not like it's only a test, it's not that much of a test at all, but that's it. The front's done.